You were saying, I was asking you about how you got into the whole copywriting thing because you
Yeah,
started my marketing in '97.
and
And you
actually gave you a really awesome answer that you didn't hear. But the bottom line is that no, I did not set out to learn how to write copy. In fact, I struggled for 3 years, not really understanding that sales copy was even a thing until I realized that my computer was a cash machine, but it was a cash machine for other people. The cash was just going out to others who were really
interesting.
good at putting words on the screen that got me to spend money with them. And I was making money, but I wasn't making the kind of money that I knew other people were making. And I realized that I needed to get good at sales copy. So I made a conscious decision that I was going to get good at writing sales copy. And I did that in 2000, 2001. I just decided, you know what? I have to learn what to do and how to do it and how to put words and pictures on a page that get people to spend money with me. So it was a conscious decision. And the thing I will tell everybody, it is a learned skill. It is something that everybody can and must learn how to do.
Well, that would be my next question. Is I understand it's probably hours upon hours. Man, where do you even start that skill? Do you just pick up books, or do you start uh, just reading other people's copy and trying to dive into what works? Like, what's the process of even opening that can of worms?
Basically, what you need to do is just become a student of copy. And that means that you pay attention to what works. And no, I wouldn't say to go out and get every copywriting book and start reading it, unless you get my book, which we'll be releasing in May, but that's a different thing.
Oh yeah.
But the point is that the first thing you do is you just start studying copy that gets you to spend money. That's the
Okay.
number one thing, especially in the area which you want to focus on. So the other thing is that most of us are already members of our own native market. I mean, you're not going, I mean, looking at you with your cool unicorn bathrobe top on there, you're still probably not going to go sell bathrobes. You're probably not going to sell
Right.
feminine hygiene products. You're probably not going to sell things that you're not involved in that market.
Sure.
So you need to pay attention to what's working in your native market. What do you respond to? Because the people who are in your native market are like you and they'll respond to the same things. So pay attention. The best teacher is sales copy that has gotten you to spend money. So sit down and
Okay.
analyze that. Look at it. What's the hook? What's the story? What's the offer? What are the bullets like? What are the headlines like? What kind of images are they using? And then instead of saying, I have to become a master of copywriting, you start mastering in chunks. The first thing you need to get good at are headlines. Why? Because without a great headline, you can have the best sales copy in the world and you will still fail because the headline is what makes people stop. And so you
Okay.
got to get really
Makes sense.
good at headlines. You also next need to get really good at bullets because bullets are what build pressure within people to want to buy whatever it is you're selling, to sign up for whatever it is you're hawking, to click links, to call on the phone. Then you need to get really good at calls to action, and that's not real hard to do. You also need to get good at being able to express people's desires, people's problems. So once you get good at those, then you've got the building blocks that you need to be able to create most of the funnels that you're going to need to make out there. Because every page on every funnel has a headline. If you're selling something, you've got to have bullets about whatever it is you're selling. You've got to get good at giving people calls to action. Then you start getting good at stories, whether it's an origin story, an epiphany bridge story, a story of different stories that you would use in content. But if you look at that, headlines, bullets, calls to action, stories, those are the main building blocks that you can use to really build a lot of the sales copy that you're going to need. And so don't look at it like you have to have a PhD in copy. You need to just go real narrow and get really good at writing copy
Okay.
for your specific target audience.
Fair enough. And you forgive me. This is a little warm. That's gonna have to sit
Well,
right here.
you
I'm gonna
have to,
the unicorn's gonna have to sit right here because he's a little warm. Um,
what price beauty?
now you mentioned the bullets, and this is something I actually had a question on because I've never understood this.
Uh-huh.
Why the bullets versus writing the information out just in standard copy?
Because, well, several reasons. One, because of space, time, and also to get the whole purpose of your bullets are to build pressure and curiosity. So nobody wants to read a paragraph when they can just read a sentence. And so it's also the purpose of bullets is you don't know exactly which hot button it's going to take to push on somebody to get them to make that buying decision. So
What they're
you
going to
need
identify
to,
with, yeah.
so you need to just, it's boom, 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 boom. Sales copy is a rhythm. It
Right.
really is. There's a rhythm to really good copy, and you'll notice it as well. It's the same thing with the bullets. And you don't need 3 dozen bullets to sell somebody. 6 really good bullets will sell somebody better than 30 mediocre bullets. And if you
Okay.
want to see really good bullets and the effective use of bullets, you can go look a lot on Amazon at some of the top selling products.
Hmm.
And you'll see that a lot of those, I mean, I think they get 4 bullets. Um, I'm getting old, so I don't remember everything. But people are selling a lot of stuff basically using a title and 4 bullets to sell a lot of product on Amazon. So there you go.
Okay. Um, well, with that, like, have you seen a huge shift in? Okay, let me step back. I know Russell's talked a lot. He loves the J.P. Peterman catalogs, and I learned it. I was familiar with it watching Seinfeld and Elaine. She worked for J. Peterman and
Right.
like stuff like that, where you have the art of telling a story and everything that goes with the copywriting. Have you seen a shift in that, or is it really just the exact same tried and true methods that still work in different format today? Does
The
that
tried
question
and
make sense?
true, yeah, basically the tried and true methods that have always worked to sell people will always work to sell people. So now what we're talking is just a change in the medium. And when I got started back in 97 and when my sales really started to take off in 2001, half the battle back then was, and it was all long form sales copy. There was no video, there was none of
Right.
that stuff. And we even had to build the pages in such a way that most people were on dial up. And so you were loading the top page and they were reading it as the rest of the sales letter was literally loading
So you would
as
be
they were
loading it
reading.
incrementally.
Yes. Had to
Interesting.
do stacked tables to do that. So a lot of what you had to do back then was include information that made people just comfortable with the fact that they were buying online, that they weren't getting a physical product
Yeah.
in the mail, they were getting an ebook, that they weren't getting, that it was going to be a teleconference. It wasn't going to be tapes or CDs coming in the mail. So there was a lot of extra information and a lot of stuff that you had to include to get people over the hump with making a buying decision. Now it's acceptable to buy online. It's preferable to buy online in a lot of cases. So you don't have to have nearly as much content, but you have to make the content you have, the sales copy you have, count even more. Your hook has to be better. Your story has to be better. It has to be
Interesting.
tight.
Yeah.
Your sales copy has to be clean. You have to do more work with less. It's like Mark Twain said, I didn't have time to write you a short letter, so I wrote you a long one. It takes effort to be able to say more with fewer words. It has to be super smooth. And so if there's a change, that's the change that I have seen. You've got to make do quicker with less because people's attention spans have gone in the toilet.
It is an interesting like dichotomy there. Like the attention seems easier to get at times. Like it's easier to get people traffic wise now, whether it's Facebook ads, Instagram ads, you can send traffic that way. But we're also our attention spans where we might have read a long form VSL in the past. Now we're just, you're 2-3 sentences in. And if it's not interesting, not exciting, I'm just, back to my Instagram feed or back to my Facebook feed.
Correct.
Which actually leads me to,
So
go ahead.
what I will tell you is that what you have to do is make sure that you are connecting with people on an emotional level. You have to engage them emotionally much faster than you had to in the past, because emotion's what's going to hold them there.
Well, that actually leads me to the next thing I was going to say, which is about your letting out the chickens with Jim this morning. You were talking about the hooks, because obviously anybody that's in our industry, or even if you're on social media at all, you're seeing all the sponsored ads, the paid ads, where everybody leads with, and this is what I've done a lot of times for clients running Facebook ads or Instagram ads. You lead with a question that has that yes answer, the implied yes. And and you know, like you mentioned this morning, everybody puts up their defenses.
Right.
And do you think in your mind, is it truly as simple? And by the way, if anybody's watching this and you haven't watched, or you're not following Jim and seeing his chickens with Jim in the morning, it is absolutely a great idea to do, because you're gonna get little niblets and little nuggets of gold, or chicken feed, if you will.
For
or chicken feed.
That's right.
that you can use every morning. It's only like, it's about 3 minutes, 4 minutes, about every morning.
Yeah, 3 to 5 minutes.
But you mentioned about flipping that no, about the yes, implied yes, and making it a no question.
Right.
And
so
go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, is it just that simple to stand out now, or?
The thing that you got to do, the thing you got to understand, what you really, in my estimation, what you're asking about is the hook. And the hook is what makes people stop. And we all now have this feed mentality, literally. I mean, your email looks like a feed now in Gmail. When you look at Facebook, it's a feed. When you look at Instagram, it's a feed. When you look at Pinterest, it's a feed. Everything's based around this river of information going by. And if you just look at what you're doing on a daily basis and look at your own behavior when you're going through the feed, what makes you stop scrolling and pay attention to something? There's this mental process that goes on. It's usually now, as on Facebook, it's a picture or a video. It's not words. The hook is a visual hook. It's a picture. If you pay attention to what you're doing, and when you're looking at Facebook and you're looking at a picture, it's either a picture of someone you know, and then you'll stop, or it's a picture that makes you stop. So don't discount the visual hook. But your question is, when you're talking about a hook or a headline or a question, and the easiest hook to get somebody to stop is to ask a question, because it forces people to answer yes, no, or what the heck is going on here.
And what I was saying, process it. Yeah.
What's that?
It forces them to cause some sort of process mentally.
Right. And so what you're asking about, as I said this morning, that most people, when they ask a question, are trying to get people to say yes to that question. So if we were targeting authors and we said, hey, do you want to sell more books? Want to sell more books? Want to be an author? It's like, it's yes. We want them to say the yes answer. But now it's being so bombarded, it's not invalidating it as far as using that as a tool, because we're not going to get rid of asking questions. Right. But that manipulated yes is the thing that we need to pay attention to. If you see everybody in your market asking questions that require a yes answer, what if you could ask a question that would make somebody go no? What if you said, hey, are you getting all the ebook sales you want? No. If not, let me tell you about this piece of software that could help you do something more. If the answer is no, let me share with you 5 ways to increase your sales. And let me share with you 5 mistakes that most book authors make that cost them tons of sales and cause them to die in obscurity. So it's back to the curiosity
aspect of it.
So
if you say no,
you know, you don't necessarily, so that's just one example. But if they answer no, in their mind, everybody's always trying to get them to say yes, and then all of a sudden they say no. It's like, what? Wait a minute, it's something different. It's that split second that you can maybe shake them out of their hypnosis, whereas everybody's ad is trying to get them to say yes. So that's just that's one example. So again, the hook, the whole purpose of the hook is to make people stop, and also to pre-frame them the right way. That's really, a hook can be a headline, a hook can be a question.
That's the next thing I was going to ask you. I was about the pre-framing, because that seems something that's missed a lot. It seems like people just look at that and they say, let me write a hook and just get someone to come to the page. And then they come to the page and they really have no idea. They're like, wait a minute, this isn't quite what I thought it was.
Correct. Sex, boobies, sex, boobies. It's like, what? I mean, it hooks you, but then, hey, now I've got your attention. Let's talk about my mousetrap. Let's talk about the
Right.
decon mousetrap. What? So that's
You just had my mind here, and it's not it wasn't on the mousetrap.
Yeah, I stopped you, but I stopped you wrong, and I didn't pre-frame you. In fact, I pre-framed you now to hate me. So the hook has to pre-frame people for the story. Now, the story can be an actual story. The story can just be information. It can be news. It can be product bullets. It can be anything. But that's, the hook story offer that they teach a lot in the ClickFunnels community. Russell's pushing that really hard. But the hook has to pre-frame people for the story. The story can be an origin story. It can be an epiphany bridge story. It can be whatever comes next is the story. I mean, a story can be a demo.
Yeah, as long as I see what you're saying. The hook is what is really setting what's happening next.
The hook is what stops people and sets them up for what is coming next. And it happens like that. I mean, the story can be a headline.
Yeah.
If you think about it, if you're on an opt-in page, so let's say, hey, are you tired of, are you making all the ebook sales you want to make? No. New software helps you to create an amazing marketing plan that sells any book in just 17 minutes a day. Get your copy free. Boom. That's a hook is a question, and that headline is an offer. I mean, the headline is the story, and the offer is click here to get your copy for free. Or, it doesn't have to be 80 paragraphs long.
How important is storytelling, in your opinion, in copywriting?
The ability to tell stories is extremely important if you want to start selling fast without having to master manipulative techniques. In other words, if you can tell a good story about you, your product, and where it came from and why you created it, then that's really all the intro you need, because then the rest of it is bullets in the offer, and you can ask for the sale. If you aren't good at telling stories, then you have to start mastering stuff like, and when I say manipulative, I don't mean that badly. It's just you need to get good. And then you have
ethical
to start
points of persuasion.
Well, yeah, but then you have to start mastering formulas like problem, agitate, solve, benefit, and the before, after bridge, all these things, which are very useful to know. But if you're just getting started and you can tell a story about you and where your product came from and how it helped you and how it's helped other people, and then some bullets in your offer, you're a lot further ahead of the game. So plus people love stories and they pay attention. I will tell you one other thing about why stories are so important is that in a world where everything can be hacked, where your product can be hacked, your sales funnel can be hacked, your sales copy can be hacked, the only thing that you truly own are your own stories. People can't hack your stories. They can copy them. They can use them as models for their own, but that's the one thing that you truly own are your own stories. So you get really good at them and they become like currency. That's how you buy people's attention and their trust.
That makes sense. I actually never thought of it, because we hear a lot of stories about people getting just what you said, getting copy they've spent tons of time executing and this and that, and it gets ripped off by somebody and they copy it and paste it directly into the funnel. So it does seem like the value is in learning to tie the story in with your copywriting.
Sure. Hey guys, I really hope you enjoyed and got a lot of value in this video. If you did, make sure you like, subscribe, and comment below. I'm going to be answering all the comments myself. And also come find me on your favorite social media platform and tell me what else I can help you with.